When I started in this industry 13 years ago, there were no teachers, there were no mentors.
I am the author of the best-selling Tools and Tactics for the Master Day Trader. I'm also co-founder of Pristine.com, which today is considered to be the premier educational resource for active self-directed traders. Pristine.com, of course, was formed about 7 years ago in my basement apartment with one client. Today, 7 years later, Pristine has a worldwide following of 88,000.
Señor Oliver Velez, bienvenido a Colombia, de Noticias Caracol, y gracias por estar con nosotros. Cuéntenos, por favor, en qué consiste el método Trade for Living que usted creó y que ha sido tan exitoso a nivel mundial.
4.5 years ago,
Hace 4 años y medio, vi que uno de los mayores problemas que los corredores de bolsa tenían era la falta de entrenamiento y un monto apropiado de capital. Lo que hice fue crear un programa que se llama Trade for Life, que le permite a los corredores tener continuo entrenamiento cada día con fondos que yo proveo, por lo cual se elimina el miedo a perder mucho capital.
We're talking about trading tips today with Oliver Velez.
We've experienced obviously one of the most volatile months in years. I don't believe we've experienced this level of volatility since, 2008, 2009.
The greatest event of markets and trading in Spain. Oliver Velez, a legend of the trading. He is also known as the rock star, the messiah of the trading.
believe it or not, that name, the Messiah of trading, came from a quote by the Dow Jones. The Dow Jones calls me the Messiah of trading all the way back in the year 2000.
Hi from Orlando, Florida. I'm Adrian Manns for the Money Show Video Network. I'm here today with an old friend of mine, Oliver Velez. I've known you since, 1997. Wow. Back when you were doing some heavy-duty trader education for new guys getting into the business. The latest is I Fund Traders.
I've been training and educating traders since 1994. In 2007, when I was one of the first people in the industry to actually risk my own capital on my students.
All right, traders. All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. Listen, I have absolutely, first of all, I want to welcome all of you here. Thank you very much for showing up. Thank you for your patience. As you can see, maybe I've had some, for those of you who are familiar with my live events, I've had some technical difficulties here this morning. I do not have my regular camera setup operational, so I'm using the laptop computer camera, which is really not ideal, but my face is not the most important thing here today. So we're gonna get past this, okay? But I wanna welcome you to the introduction to my trading, my my Trading Kids program, which has actually, guys, been in operation for many years now, almost 8 years now. And there are over 500 traders all over the globe, actually, 500 trading kids, all right, that have increased their knowledge of markets, how they operate, and many of them are on their way to learning how to be self-sufficient in the markets so that by the time they're in their early 20s, they will be sophisticated market players that can out-trade almost every single one of you. All right, it is my belief that we as parents today have the premier responsibility to teach our children about money and about markets, which obviously make the world go round. It is a travesty, people, that our educational system does not do this for us. When I was a kid, when you were a kid, when you were in school, you did not learn about money. You did not learn about finance. You did not learn about debt and the stock market and things of that nature. You did not learn about stores of value. You did not learn about hurdle rates and how it is necessary for every single person to find a way to beat the inflationary hurdle rate. These are things that we weren't taught in school, but yet these are the very things that separate the haves from the have-nots in this world. Why? Because money makes the world go round, and that money floats around across various markets. I think it's absolutely necessary for all of our young kids today to get this head start and to get this head start early, because if we rely on the traditional educational system to do it for us, we're increasing the odds that our children are lost when they're young adults, when they're in their greatest earning power years, when they're in the throes of the beginning of their careers. We increase the odds that they're going to waste those years not getting a head start properly because they do not understand money. They do not understand hurdle rates. They do not understand how to maneuver and handle themselves in financial markets. That's what my Trading Kids program is designed to do. Now, I want to give you a quick story before I go into the material today. There is going to be material today, okay? Trading material. Now, what I want to, first of all, can everyone hear me? Can you see me? I know the camera setup is not the normal camera setup, but can you see me? Can you hear me? Let me know before I start delving in. I just want to make sure. All right, I'll take a sip of coffee. I know we're on somewhat of a delay, even though it's live, but just let me know. Is everything okay? Can you hear me? All right, let me know. I know we're on somewhat of a delay. From India, I see India in the house. All right, fantastic. Good. Voice is good. Image is not not pristine, but it's passable. Okay. All right, good, guys. Good. Good. Let me see if I can put this down just a tiny bit here. All right, good. All right, guys. So I want to tell you a quick story, and then I promise we're going to delve into some material. And guys, what we're going to delve in today is I'm going to give you an overall view of what we teach our trading kids, okay? An overall view of how we start them off, what we teach them. Now, many of you parents who are watching this, you're going to learn something too, all right? You're going to learn something too about properly handling yourself in the markets and trading as well. So even though I'm going to show you how we start the kids off, you're going to learn something. And I will tell you this, I guarantee that your kids out-trade you. Kids out-trade their parents, period. That is a fact. They out-trade their parents. Now, let me give you a story quickly. When I was young, some of you may know this story. When I was very young, I was handpicked as a kid that had an above-average talent for piano playing at the age of 3. To make a long story short, my parents were convinced to put resources into me becoming a professional pianist. I went to special schools. I had special instructors all of my very, very young life. During this time, my father owned his own taxi company. He had a variety of taxis out on the street in Brooklyn. He had a client, my father, he had a client who was a Wall Street guy, but he was a gold bug. So this guy, my father had a private client he took down to Wall Street from Brooklyn to Wall Street every single day, picked the client up, all right? My father also had some other people riding his other taxis, but he was primarily responsible for this Wall Street guy. This Wall Street guy informed my father that he should actually put aside $35 a week to buy 1 ounce of gold. You see, because back in the 1960s, even though it was illegal for American citizens to buy gold, it was illegal at that particular time. There were ways around it, and this client of my father showed him the ways around it. So my father began to buy 1 ounce of gold. He trusted this individual. He looked up to this individual, and he said he took his advice to buy 1 ounce of gold every single week of his life. He did this for almost 10 years. Well, by the time the beginning to mid-70s happened, all right, President Nixon removed he suspended the convertibility of the dollar into gold. He took America completely off of the gold standard. The cap that kept gold at $35 an ounce was lifted, and gold skyrocketed from $35 an ounce to over $800 an ounce in a relatively short period of time. Now, why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because this is what happened to me and my family as a child. Our lives were completely changed. We went from being a regular middle-class family to being something extraordinarily more than that. Everything in my life changed, people. My friends changed, my state changed, my house changed, our cars changed, my clothes changed, my schools changed. From public to private, I went to the very best schools in the United States. So I was a little bit too young in the beginning to understand why did our life change so radically. And when I got a little bit older and I understood, maybe about 14 years old, 15 years old or so, and I understood that my father changed the entire trajectory of a family, the entire future of an entire family with one market act, purchasing gold. I was hooked. Do you understand? At that particular point, when I realized that, I was like, this is what I want to do. This was so amazing for my family, and it was only one act. What if I could do it 10 times, what my father did 10 times? What if I could make what my father did once my career? And when I found out there was something called a trader, when I found out there was something called a professional market participant, where this was your job, this is what you did for life, and I said, I just don't want to do what my dad did once. I want to do it over and over and over and over again. And thus began my journey down the professional trading path. How old was I? 15 years old. I started this game of market play when I was young, and it had huge benefits that I started that early, people. It had huge benefits because by the time I was 21, 22 years old, I was killing it. Do you understand? I landed my first job on Wall Street in 1986. All right? Ripped it up on Wall Street, left Wall Street at the very top of my game, very well known on Wall Street, to start my own Wall Street firm in 1994. It was 8 years later. And the rest is history. I went on to create some of the largest organizations in this business, guys. I had the second largest direct access brokerage firm in the United States. Barron's ranked my firm the #1 firm to go to for education and training for professional institutional firms. Barron's, the venerable Barron's, ranked me #1. I've been involved in products on the market that have sold for $450 million, $750 million. I became the first face of the trading industry in the year 1991 as I was selected to be the representative for the entire trading industry with my keynote speech at the first International Traders Expo. I am now the author of 5 international best-selling books that continue to sell more books than all the books on the market that have ever sold combined. And I still continue to be one of the most sought after speakers on the topic of trading markets for a living. Why I'm telling you this is that decision to basically make markets my life at the age of 15 also further changed the trajectory of my life. And because of that experience, I believe that parents today have the ability to do the same for their children, to put them in a position where they potentially can never have to make a choice to work for another man or another woman or another organization unless they want to. What if you could set your child up to where he or she is able to pull money consistently out of the financial markets at a level that is far beyond any job or career they could ever have by the age of 22, by the age of 21. If you start them off at 10 years old or 12 years old or 15 years old, where do you think they're going to be at 22, 23 years old if they stay with it? Children pick this up faster than you do. They do not have the baggage that you do as an adult. They keep things simple. They don't overcomplicate like their parents do, and they get this better. I got it better than any of my parents could have gotten it, and your children will get it better than you too. Do you understand? We can't rely on the traditional educational system to take care of our children's future, especially now. Give them this gift. Give them the gift of understanding money like a video game. Give them the gift of trading like a video game. Words can't truly express what starting early did for me. Many of you wish you started early. But now you can give that gift to your children or your nieces or your nephews and your second cousins and so forth and so on. Give them this gift because no one else is going to give it to them. All right, guys, let's get started. All right, let's get started. Sorry for the rampage. Sorry for the rant, but I'm so passionate about this. I'm passionate about our kids understanding this, guys. I'm very passionate about it. All right, let us go. Boom. All right. Now, Trading Kids Camp, guys. Building wealth together, the life skills your child and you can master this summer. All right, we do this camp every summer, okay? All right. Now, I'm not going to go over this. You've had my introductory talk. Let's jump right to the meat of today's topic. But I do want you to follow me if you're not following me now. Just follow me here. You're on the channel. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you click the bell in the upper right-hand corner, guys. Help the algorithm, help us spread this message a little further, and also stay connected with us. Stay connected with me. All right? All right. The kids, the trading tools. Now, what I'm going to do is, guys, I'm going to give you this. My purpose here is not to kind of have a mini trading course, although it might feel like that to some of you. But I just want to give you a taste of how we start the kids off from 10 to 15, off with basic but very powerful things that help them cut through, capture, and clarify the essence of proper market play. And when they get these basic things early settled, it becomes so much easier than you starting after you've accumulated a whole bunch of other information and knowledge, and that largely needs to be removed before you put the new foundation in. We can get your kids early and put this foundation, which I'm going to show you, this foundation in early before a lot of junk gets put in. My goodness, they're going to sail, all right, in an almost unfettered way. There's no need to undo anything because they're starting with the right foundation. So let's go over some of these foundational things. Now, the first thing we teach them is that there are some basic tools that you need to be able to pull money out of financial markets. These basic tools, what we use, are very simple, but they're powerful things. We use candlestick charts as a tool. And there are two specific time frames that we teach our traders and our traded kids to use. That's the 2-minute chart, which means that every bar represents 2 minutes of trading. And then there's the 5-minute chart for macro trading. We tell them this is macro trading. The 2-minute is the primary chart. And we teach them that the 5-minute is more of a macro chart. Now, let me flesh this out a little bit. The average trade, listen to me carefully. Some of you might want to take notes with this. The average trade lasts 8 bars. 8 to 12 bars. That's the average trade. So if we're operating off of a 2-minute chart, people, then the average trade falls roughly, if we want to split the baby, 20 minutes. Sometimes less, sometimes a little bit more. Okay? So it's 16 minutes, right, to 24 minutes. That's where the majority of trades fall when you are trading the 2-minute chart, because what's happening?
So it's 16 minutes.
What's happening?
Oliver?
Yes? My screen is double. A little slide. Let me see what's happening here. Let me see. Why is it doing that? I'm wondering if, okay. Whoa, that's weird. Let me see. Trying to get this fixed, guys, for you. Trying to get this fixed for you. That is weird. Oh, show full screen. Let me see if I can get this. Give me a second, guys. I'm going to try to get this fixed here. I think I show full screen. I don't want you to see double there. I think I got it fixed, guys. Boom. All right, there we go. Got it. Ciao. All right, thank you guys for showing me that. All right, sorry about that. I don't know what happened with that setup. I told you this is kind of like the setup from hell, the technical issues session from hell, but we'll get through it, guys. We'll get through it. All right, so I think we're set now. So what I want you to realize is that what we teach them is that the average trade is going to last between 8 to 10 bars. In a 2-minute chart, that would mean 2 times 8 is 16 minutes. Or 10 to 12 bars, actually. Sometimes your trade is going to fall in the middle and be 20 minutes. And sometimes it might be on, a little bit longer, 24 minutes or so. But trading off of a 2-minute chart, this is your time frame. So we teach them, like, how long do you want your money exposed to the possibility of danger? All right? And so if you want to be a 20-minute trader, you're going to pick the 2-minute chart. If you like a more relaxed style of market play, where your trades last much longer, you can get up from the computer, do a chore here or there, check something else. You don't have to watch it minute by minute. You're going to play the 5-minute chart. And remember, 8 to 12 bars is your average trade no matter what time frame. So you're going to be in this trade anywhere from 35 minutes and up. You see, an hour plus. Okay? So, you choose your weapon by how long you want to be involved in the market per day. Now, sometimes you might want to be a 5-minute chart trader, and on another day, you might want to be a 2-minute chart trader. So we train them on both of these time frames. That's the point I want you to get across. And this should be valuable to many of you adult traders as well. You choose your time frame based on how long you want to be exposed to the possibility of something going wrong. Okay? And so we predominantly, I would say it's about an 80-20 split. 80% of the time it's the 2, and about 20% of the time we'll take some trades based on the 5-minute chart, where every bar represents 5 minutes of trading. All right? Now, let's move on. I want to show you examples of this. Here is a current chart, a relatively current chart of Apple. This is from yesterday. What you're looking at is a 2-minute chart. All right? Here's the 2-minute there. Every bar represents 2 minutes of trading. Okay? And there are obviously green 2-minute bars, and obviously there are red 2-minute bars. Okay? There are some big 2-minute bars. And of course, there are some small 2-minute bars. Okay? All right, so every bar represents 2 minutes of trading. All right, showing you an example. Here's an example of a 5-minute chart. We're looking at Robinhood now. Here's the 5, representing 5 minutes. Every bar on this chart represents 5 minutes of trading. So this bar took 5 minutes to complete. This bar took 5 minutes to complete. Every bar took 5 minutes to complete. Okay? And so just remember, the main point that we want you and your child to understand is that the average trade, no matter what time frame, lasts between 8 to 12 bars. Some actually go longer, some are actually much shorter. But this is the average, this is the sweet spot of where your trades will begin. So let me show you something. Let's say this is a buy. Okay? Now you buy this bar and you look 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, including this 6. So this single leg run was about 5 to 6 bars, right? 5 to 6 bars. Entry bar counts as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, so a little bit shorter, but you understand what I'm saying. If this were a buy, boom, you count that bar too. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You see what I'm saying? So your average plays, look at this one. If you were playing this to the downside, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So these swings, these swing opportunities, these one-leg move opportunities to take money out of the markets will tend to be 8 to 12 bars. That's the sweet spot. But remember, you can get more, and you can get less. I'm saying this is the sweet spot. Okay. Okay. Now, tell me if you understand so far. I just want to make sure before I move on, you understand this concept so far. Does this make sense? Does it make sense so far? 8 2-minute, 5-minute, 2-minute chart, 5-minute chart. Each time frame, doesn't matter, 8 to 12 bars is your average holding period per trade. Sometimes, most of the time, we teach the children to play off the 2-minute. Sometimes they might have to play off the 5-minute when they need more time. So we want them to be proficient in both time frames. You got it? Good. Okay. Fantastic. Now, this is going to get really interesting, I promise you. Watch how this gets put together for your kid. Watch how this gets put together for your kid. All right? Now, the next thing we say, on top of these 2 time frames, your 2 battle time frames, the 2 and the 5, we're going to put something on top of them. So we're going to put a 20-period moving average on top of each chart, the 2 and the 5, and we're going to put a 200-period moving average on each of the charts. And we tell the kids, we want this to permanently stay on top of your charts. You will never look at the 2-minute or the 5-minute without the 20-period moving average and the 200-period moving average. They become permanent fixtures on top of the charts, okay? And there's a third one here, the 8-period moving average, which we use as a trend-following guide, but I want to get to that later. We will double back to the 8-period moving average later, okay? But the permanent ones, the 8 is not permanent. The permanent ones are the 20-period moving average and the 200-period moving average. Now, let's take a look at some examples of that, all right? Now, I'm taking that same 2-minute chart of Apple. All right, you see the 2-minute here, right? Same 2-minute. Every bar represents 2 minutes of trading. Now I've overlaid the 20-period moving average. That's the 20. And the 200-period moving average. The red is the 200. Now, these 2 moving averages give us a lot more information about this 2-minute chart, which we're going to get into. All right? But I just want to show it to you now. When we teach our children, you should never look at a 2-minute chart without these 2 moving averages. Now, let me show you the 5-minute chart with the same. Remember, Robinhood was 5 minutes. Every bar represents 5 minutes of trading. Now look at your 2 moving averages overlaid. Here's the 20-period moving average, the blue, and there's the 200-period moving average, the red. Overlaying these 2 on this 5-minute chart gives us a world of additional information about this stock, which we'll get into, okay? So first tool, 2 and 5-minute chart. Second tool, 20 and 200-period moving averages overlaid on those charts. Now, let's go to the next thing. After they learn the tools, guys, we teach them some foundational core trading principles. That's what we're going to talk about now. All right? These are the principles. They got the tools, the 2, the 5, the 20, the 200. Now, that's all they need. All right? Now, how do we utilize those tools based on sound trading principles? That's what we get into next. Watch this. It's going to get really interesting. Watch this. All right. So the first principle is the principle fact that the market only has 3 states that it vacillates between. It vacillates between a narrow state, goes from a narrow state, and then it trends from a narrow state, and then eventually reaches a wide state. Then from a wide state, it trends back to a narrow state. And so every market in the world, I don't care if it's the stock market, I don't care if it's the crypto market, I don't care if it's the options market, I don't care if it's the bond market, I don't care if it's the futures market, I don't care if it's the Forex market, I don't care if it's a market for trading your mother-in-laws, I don't care if it's a market for trading pet rocks, I don't care what market it is, every market in existence, trades between these three states. Now, let me try to draw what I mean by we go from narrow to trending to wide, from wide to trending to narrow. Let me show you this. So first, the market starts off narrow state. That's a quiet, do nothing, resting state. From this narrow state, your market might move from narrow and start trending. So here's narrow. Now we're trending all the way until we get to wide. From wide, you might begin to drop and start trending again back to narrow. But it might drop and do narrow down here. You see? Now we're back to narrow. Now let me draw this on the other side. You might be narrow, a quiet market, narrow. Then your stock might drop and start trending, until it gets to a wide state, and it might move back up, let me get this out of the way, to do narrow again. You see? So sometimes your move from narrow to wide is up. Sometimes your move from narrow to wide is down. But listen to me carefully. This is going to get really, really powerful. Okay? I need you taking notes with this as well, some of you adults. And if your kids are with me, I need them taking notes too on this. Look how powerful this is. Check this out. Your best trades happen right here, betting on the downside, right under narrow. And your best buys happen right above narrow, betting on the upside. Your children's best trades of their lives are going to come from that spot right there, or this spot right here. The best trades of your lives, parents, are going to come from those two spots. If I could get you to focus 80% of your trades on these two spots, you wouldn't have a problem. You wouldn't have a money problem. You would not have a consistency problem. You would not have a losing problem. Now, it's hard for me to get you as parents to do this, but it's a lot easier to get your kids to do this. They don't question like you, but Oliver, what about this and what about that and what about the planetary alignment of Saturn and look at Jupiter up there and look at the S&P and da. They don't do that. They'd be like, oh, I'm in the perfect spot, buy. Oh, I'm in the perfect spot, sell. They don't say, but wait a minute, what about? They don't do that. There's no trying to figure something out. It's like, I'm supposed to buy there, boom. I'm supposed to sell there, boom. That's the advantage that your kid has over you. All right, let's get back to this. All right. So your best trades are going to come right from above a narrow state or right from below a narrow state. Now, your second best trades are going to happen from a wide state betting down to go back down to a narrow state. And your second best is from a wide state down here betting back up, because you know wide goes back to narrow. So here is number one buy spot. Your kids are taught that this is the number one buy spot. Here's the number two buy spot, which is wide back to narrow. Okay? And here is the number one sell spot for betting down. And here is the number 2 sell spot for betting down. So you've got 1 is the best, 2 is the second best. We don't need a third one. We don't need a third one. All right? You don't need a third one. You need 1, you need the best and the second best. Let me tell you a story about this, if I can. All right? Tell you a story about this idea that you don't need 3. Okay? There was, in the 1960s, there was a very wealthy man who owned a nationwide chain of shoe stores for women. I've told this story to my traders. And he had reached the height of such success that a lot of magazines and television programs would want him on to ask him, what's the secret of your success? And he would say, well, it was sales. And he says, if you can sell, you're going to be successful in life. And so they would ask him, well, what is your secret to selling so well? And he says, it's simple and powerful. 2, not 3. And so the interviewer would say, wait a minute, 2, not 3, what does that mean? And he would say, let me give you an example. A woman comes into my shoe store and she wants to see a pair of shoes, all right? I bring her the pair of shoes she wants, but I also bring her an alternative, 2. I never put 1 down. I put 2 down, the one she wants to see and something that I think she might like as well, okay? 2. Then she might try the 2 shoes on and you say, you know what? Let me try that one too. And he says, before I bring that one, I asked the woman, which one would you like me to take away? And so the interviewer would say, well, oh, wait a minute. Why would you take one away before you get the third one she asked? He says, because it's 2, not 3. What I have found, he said, is that when I bring 3, the woman eventually walks out of the store with nothing, too much to choose from. But when I only have 2 shoes in front of her, she'll buy 1. If I have 1, she won't buy. If I have 3, she won't buy. But if I have 2, she buys almost every time. It's her choice. Now, I tell you that story because there is a magic power in the number of 2. You understand? We don't want your child to have really 3. We don't want them to have 1. We want them to have 2. There is power in having 2. All right? Cute little story for you. All right, let's go. 2, not 3. Remember that. 2, not 3. All right, so we have got these 2 hot spots, these 2 ways of playing the market. Play them out of a narrow state up, out of a narrow state down. We play wide state back to down, wide state back to up. Those are the 2 main things. Now remember, there are 3 states. There's the narrow state, the trending state, the wide state. The narrow state moves to a trending state and eventually gets to a wide state. We go from wide, trending, back to narrow, wide, trending, back to narrow. And the markets can do nothing more than repeat this over and over and over again. This is what we teach your children. Now, once they understand this, they can start putting things together. So let me show you how to determine if your stock is in a narrow state. It's simple. You take those 2 moving averages, that 20-period moving average and that 200-period moving average. All right? And what you do is if and when those 2 moving averages are relatively flat and close together, you have a narrow state. You see those 2 moving averages? Look, here's the 20-period moving average. It doesn't have to be exactly flat, but it's relatively flat here. And here's your 200 close, relatively flat. They do not have to be kissing. They do not have to be touching. They just have to be close. This is my narrow state. Now, from a narrow state, remember, from a narrow state, your best buys, which we'll get into. Boom! All right, all right, good. That's the narrow state. Now, if a narrow state is when the two moving averages are really close and relatively flat, then what's a wide state? When they are far apart. Here is the same stock, Apple. Here's the narrow state. Here is the wide state. So we went from a narrow state, boom, to a wide state. Now, from a wide state, we're going back to a narrow state. That's all markets can ever do. Narrow to wide, wide back to narrow. Narrow to wide, wide back to narrow. Narrow to wide, wide back to narrow. They're trapped on rails, traders. There's nothing else they can do. They don't have a choice. Do you understand? So we teach your kids how to identify both states and how to ride the market between both states, how to get on in the beginning of one of the states. Either you get on at the beginning of narrow or you get on at the beginning of wide and you ride it back to the next state. So if you are in on the narrow state, you ride the play to the wide state. If you are in on the wide state, you ride the play back to the narrow state. It's as simple as that, but extraordinarily powerful. And we tell them the number of adults that don't know these core principles of proper market analysis and proper market play are enormous. We teach them how elite they are understanding this because the vast majority of adults don't understand this. All right, let's go. So, we've got the wide state here. We got the states. Now, the next thing, after they understand the states, we take them and teach them. I know I said 2, not 3, but we do have 3 events here that we teach them, 3 core events that we teach them, right? So now that they know the trading time frames, they know the 20 and the 200 are used to determine the state, wide, narrow, or trending. Then they understand the best entry points in the state. Narrow is number 1, wide is number 2. Then we have to teach them, well, what events do you act on in those perfect spots? You don't just jump in randomly in the perfect spot. You need an event to happen at the perfect spot. So let me just draw this for you very quickly. Here's the narrow state. I told you that from a narrow state, your best spot is right there to buy. That's number 1. You're coming out of narrow and you're hopefully going to trend toward wide, right? Now, but you just don't blindly jump in here. You need this to be an identifiable event. That's what we teach them next. So we don't teach them to buy a spot only because this is a perfect spot to buy, but we need an event in the perfect spot to buy. All right? So that's what's next. So we teach them 3 basic things. And if you followed my work for any time, you know these 3 basic things. We teach them elephants, okay? We teach them that elephants have tails, too. And we teach them what I'm going to generically call color changes. Now, let me quickly go over this. Again, I don't want this to be a trading class. I just want you to, I want to give you a feel for how we start the kids off. Okay? So, elephant bars. There's a bull one, or there's a positive one, and a negative 1. Elephant bars are bigger, taller, stronger bars than normal. Okay? Now, what we teach them is that the follow-through rate for an elephant bar is very high. It's about 80%. So which means that when you identify an elephant bar, all right, you've got an 80% chance that there's going to be more green bars that follow a green elephant bar. There is an 80+% chance that after you identify a red elephant bar, 80% of the time, you're going to get more red to the downside after that elephant bar. So if you become good at identifying elephants, you're going to win. Betting in the direction of the elephant, you're going to win 8 times out of every 10 trades. That's enough to become extraordinarily wealthy in markets. You lose twice, you win 8 times. That's the way you become wealthy. There can be nothing that you're going to win 100% of the time, but something this high is all you need. So elephants have an 80% chance of producing more of their color. So it's like almost the closest thing to almost guaranteed money after an elephant. If you enter the elephant, you get the reward 80% of the time. If you enter the green elephant here, you get the reward, more green 80% of the time. So elephants are the first thing. Now remember, I'm teaching them, I want you to wait for an elephant in the number 1 spot. Not just any elephant. Boom. That elephant in the perfect spot. In this scenario, we went from, let's say, narrow to wide. Now, I want the elephant down in that spot. That's the number 2 spot. Wide, back to narrow. And this is narrow to wide. Or, remember, narrow, perfect spot for number 1 spot for down. We want this there. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. 80% chance you get that. The elephant in the right spot. Not just an elephant in the right spot. Not just an elephant in the right spot gives you these odds. Okay? Now, same thing with tails. No different. I can breeze through now. Same thing with tails. In the right spot. If I get a tail bar, in the right spot, boom. High odds of follow through. If I get the topping tail in the right spot down here, under the narrow state, I have good odds of follow through. Okay? And the same with the color changes. Color change I want to demonstrate for you. Let's say right in the perfect spot to buy, you first get a negative bar. Well, if you get a negative bar first in the buy spot, you do nothing. But if the next bar, or even the next one, boom, takes out that red in the perfect spot. Remember, that's the number 1 buy spot. You've got the perfect color change in the perfect buy spot. It changed from red to green. Now, you don't need it back to back. We teach them you don't need the color change back to back. You can have something like this, guys. Like, look, let me show you. First, you get the first bar is red. Maybe even the second bar is red. And then you get the color change. Boom. Or this can be a smaller green first, but you need to take out a red. Here is taking out a red, trading above a red. That's the entry price. So we teach them these variations of a color change, elephants and tails in the right spot. Now, these are the three things they need the most. All right? We teach adults a little bit more, but the kids can earn their living just with these three things, playing them in the right spot. Okay? Now, we also teach them how to manage the trade once they're in the trade. Right? We tell them, guys, most parents are terrible managers. You're going to be a good manager. Most parents are terrible at managing their trades, but you're going to be a master trade manager. Everything is in the management of the trade. You can have the best entries. You can identify like the best of them. But if you don't know how to handle it, once you're in it, all of that is for naught. Do you understand? So trade management is everything. Now, we teach them three different trailing stop methods, which is big bar stop. So every time they get a big bar, I want them putting their protection under the big bar. When the stock moves away from the 20-period moving average, I want them putting their protection under every bar. So let me give an example of that. Here is the 20-period moving average. Here is the stock, right? Chugging along the 20. But then it starts to leave the 20, you see? Now I want that protection, I want their protection going under every single bar because it's dangling up there in midair and it doesn't have any support near it. The 20-period moving average is kind of support, but if it leaves the support, we're going to protect ourselves under every single bar until we get knocked out. Do you understand? Until we get knocked out. And maybe you get knocked out, boom, move it under that bar, boom, and maybe you get knocked out here, boom, out of the trade. Great. Collect your money, move on. All right? So we use bar by bar when we are away from the 20. We use big bar when we're not so far away. So bar by bar is every bar. Big bar is just the big ones, not the little ones. You do nothing on the little ones. You only adjust on the big ones. And then we teach them the moving average trailing stop, where your stock is running. It's running, it's running, it's running, and you're going to trail the 20 or maybe the 8-period moving average. This is where mostly the 8-period moving average comes in. We trail a lot with the 8 because a lot of times, guys, your stock leaves the 20-period moving average and your stock leaves the 20, here's the 20, and it starts accelerating much faster than the 20, and so we need a shorter moving average to go with the trend, and that's usually the 8-period moving average. We teach them trail with the 8, trail with the 8, trail with the 8 until you break the 8. Boom, out. Collect your money and move on. And that's the 3 trailing stop methods that we predominantly teach your children, how to manage trades. And trust me, they manage better than you do. Oh, yes, they do. All right? Last thing we teach them is trading profits, how to take them. Now, guys, this is very key because you can take profits. You can be good at entries. You can be good at identifying an opportunity. You can be good at entries. Boom, I entered perfectly. You're good at protecting yourself just in case it doesn't work. You can be good at that. But if you're bad at profit taking, you're going to snatch at your roses An example, snatching at your roses, snatching at your gains too fast, not letting them flourish is a very, very big problem. Getting fearful and just ejecting yourself from a good trade, that's a problem. Even at a profit, that's a problem. There is an old saying in the market, you can't ever go broke taking a profit. Oh, yes, you can. You can go broke taking profits. If your profits are much smaller than your losses, you're going to go broke, bro. All right? If your average gain is 20 cents and your average loss is $1, you're going to go broke. All right? So profit taking is an art form that we spend a lot of time on with your kids. Because if they get the profit taking right, whoo, it's off to the races. All right? Now, so how to take profits. So we teach them 3 profit taking rules, right? 3 profit taking rules. There's a 2 to 3 push rule. So let's say, for instance, they enter this bar from a narrow state. Here's your narrow state. Boom. Perfect buy. Elephant bar. All right. Elephant bar. Perfect buy spot right above the narrow state. Now, from the perfect bar in the perfect spot, how many pushes forward do you get? 1, 2, 3. Now, the trader has a right to take a profit on the 2 push, but I would say only if the 2 push looks like this 3 push. If it's a normal bar, I would not take profits on the 2 push. If the 2 looks like the 3, then maybe yes. So let me give you an example of that. So if the 2 push was abnormal, then yeah. Now you can take the 2 push. But if it's normal, I would wait for the 3 push. But just so you know, there is the right to take a profit on the 2nd push if the 2nd push is sizable. Otherwise, you opt for 3 pushes, no matter what the size is. All right? So we teach them the 3 push after your entry. 1, 2, 3. Take profits. We teach them the new high, new low profit rule. So let's say, for instance, you bought this color change. You see this color change? This is a color change entry. Red got taken out by green. Boom! Well, you do have a right to take profits on a new high. What's a new high? A peak, right? You travel above the peak, you do have the right. It is not an obligation. Your child is not forced to take a profit. Your child can stay in it to see if there is actually more to come, but it's all about them understanding, when do I earn the right to take money off the table for my family? All right? And that's what we teach them. When do you earn the right? The other profit take is actually a stop out profit take, where you're trailing, and boom, you stop out on the break of a stock. So it could be you put your stop under this big bar and the next bar breaks your stop. Okay? Or in this case, you put you're trailing under the 20, trailing under the 20, trailing under the 20, and boom, you break and you're out there for a profit. So you can stop out for a profit. You can get a new high or new low for a profit. You can get a 2 to 3 push move for a profit take. Beautiful. Right? And we tell them, guys, most adults don't play with these rules, these concepts, these principles, these guidelines. They're guessing, they're playing news, they're in chat rooms with other bozos, listening to what someone they've never met before is saying. You're not going to be like that. We tell them you're not going to be like that. You're going to be better than your parents. Your trading is going to be rule-based. You're going to know what to do, when to take profits. You're going to know when to enter and where. You're going to know how to protect yourself. You're going to know how to manage your trades between entry and final exit. And like we tell them, the numbers of people in the world who understand how to put it together like this is very small. So we teach them that they're elite. Your children should understand that they are elite. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. All right. All right. Now, the next thing we do is we put it all together. All right? Put it all together. Let's go back to the Apple chart. Now, remember the narrow state? Grab your narrow state. Remember the best position to buy? Right above the narrow state. But you need an event there. You need an elephant. Remember the 3 events. You need an elephant there. You need a tail bar there. Or you need a color change there. Now, a color change is also an elephant by itself. It's a 2-bar event, but it is also an elephant by itself as well. So look, elephant all by itself. Boom! In the perfect spot. Boom! Whoo, isn't that a beautiful thing? But it is also a color change. It's an elephant bar that is also eliminating a red bar. See how it passes the high of the red bar? So we teach your kid, when you get an elephant bar, it's powerful enough. But if it's also taking out a red bar before it, it's more powerful. So this had some green in between there, right? This had some green in between there, but it's taking out the red for the first time here. These green did not take out the red. This one did. So elephants are strong and powerful in the perfect spot by themselves, but if it's also a color change at the same time, it's more powerful. So here's your elephant bar and color change combo. Enter, the rest is history. Now, remember I told you the average trade, all right? Enter, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Remember, so there's that additional run, but this not necessarily a sell either. Now, let's we covered where the perfect entry is. Let's cover one stop adjustment. The big bar. Remember I told you what the stop adjustments were? I want to go over this with you really fast, right? One stop adjustment is the big bar, right? Putting a protection, a stop protection under every solid bar, every sizable solid bar. Now let me show you this. Let's go to this example here. Now, you're in here. Here's your in the play. I'm gonna put this as an X. You're in the play, right? Your stop is under, let's say your stop is always under the bar that you get into. Let's just make that a general rule right now, okay? You're in that bar, your stop is under that bar. Now, you're gonna move your stop under every sizable green bar after that. And you're going to, at the same time, be using your 20 as a trail just in case there's a collapse while you get and you're out there. Look at that beautiful trade from here, starting to trail big bars, while the 20-period moving average is your safety net underneath you, and your safety net is broken here. Now remember, your kid can take profits along the way. There's a 3-push profit here, 3P. But we teach them, leave at least one part in and ride this baby out using your trade management skill. Let the market take you out. And look at how much more you got from this profit take to that takeout. Wow. They learn to be expert trade managers. All right, look at this play. Now your kid would know that since I'm in a wide spot, if I get a break, I can go the other way. I can enter now in this perfect spot. So remember, you go from narrow to wide, usually, and from wide back to narrow. So your perfect spot is there, your perfect spot is there, right? So we were narrow, perfect spot was here, now we're wide, perfect spot to go the other way is there. Boom. And look at this topping tail bar. We teach them along the way, you can take events at or near the 20. So here's the 20-period moving average. Here's a tail bar right on the 20. You see this elephant bar? This is an elephant bar near the 20. You don't have to be touching it, just close to it. Boom. So along the way, in your trending state, you can take additional plays as long as they are events off the 20, events off the 20, events off the 20, or events off the 200. Powerful. But here is now going from wide back to narrow. Powerful. How many people in the world understand this? But your kids will. Now, I just gave you a broad overview of how we start them. Understanding the mechanics of the market, how to look at the market through the eyes of two windows, the 2 and the 5, with the 20, the 200 on those charts. How to read states, narrow, trending, wide. Narrow, trending, wide. Okay? So narrow to wide, back to narrow to wide, back to narrow to wide. That's all markets do. And where the two spots are for best entry, what events you want in those spots, how to protect yourself under your entry bar or above your entry bar, how to manage the trade using big bar, 20-period moving average, and if it gets far away, every bar, bar by bar. And then how to take profits, 2 push, 3 push, new high, new low, stop out, profit take, right? And those are the tenets, those are the pieces, when put together, make proper trading, okay? Your kids do not have to keep track of news. They do not even have to know what the underlying company or stock does. None of that matters with this approach that we teach them. They just have to pull up a chart, 2 or 5 minute, put those moving averages on it, and know how to read the states and the events. Now, I'm now going to, before I let you go, I'm going to show you some results from our trading kids. I showed you the examples of the principles. I want to show you the kids applying those principles, okay? Now, they're not perfect, right? Just like you're not perfect in your trading. They're not perfect, but you'll see it. You'll see what I explained here in their trades. Let's take a look. Okay. Here's a trade. Here's one of my trading babies who managed to grab a $267 trade here, guys, in a very short period of time, right? $276, 11 or 12 years old, or what have you, okay? Find the narrow state for me. You see what our trader did? Right, he has got the 8-period moving average 2 on here. But find the narrow state. When are your moving averages kind of close together? In this area right there. And look at the entry. Do you see the entry right there? Holy, that's a color change. I don't know if you see that, but this is a color change right from a narrow state. This was a red bar. Well, this was a red bar here. It didn't end red, but this was a red bar that took out this green bar right at the 200-period moving average and right at the narrow state. Here's another color change right there. That was missed right there, but that's another one. All right, but then look at the profit take. Take some profits on your first right. Then the trader enters on the next color change. See the next color change? Boom, takes out this green, enters here. So the reds are entries on the short side. Enter. I'm going to do this in black. So they entered here. This trader entered here, took some profits, entered again here, took some profits. All right, but he took profits here on the 2 push. I would have done the 3 push. That's why I said it's not perfect. So here's the entry. Here's 1 push. 1 push. He took profits on 2 push, but that 2 push is not big. So I would have said maybe you want to take profits on the 3rd push in this case. So he would have got a little bit more profitable there. Plus, he took profits twice. That's kind of like a no-no. All right? So again, not perfect, but still profitable. And then when it gets wide, look at my baby. When it gets wide, he exits on the first color change from a wide state. That is kind of freaking masterful. Do you understand? $276, your 12-year-old kid. Crazy, crazy. Okay, here's wide state trading. So I showed you one. Here's a trader who, and I don't know if you can see this, he made $123 there. Okay, so $123 on this trade. And he's going from wide, he's playing from wide state back to narrow. Okay, so he's taking the trade here. Boom. Riding it. He earns a right to take profits there. And this is probably not a finished trade yet that we're showing, or is it? I don't know if it's at the end of the day. No, it doesn't look like it's the end of the trade. But it's showing how they understand how to go the other way. This is a downtrend. But you know how many people try to pick the turning point unsuccessfully? Well, our kids know how to do that. They pick the turning points from wide back to narrows with skill. You understand? And so $120 there, trader made. Some of these aren't showing P&L, but all right. Here again, here is wide state. Look at your moving averages. Look at the wide state. You see the wide state? Now, this trader is playing, this is what we taught them. This is a slide where we're teaching them playing from a wide state back to narrow. So we're saying, here's your buy, all right? Here's an add on the color change and so forth and so on. So this trader is trying to duplicate that with this play. And you see they're wide. They're taking this wide look at the bottoming tail bar. They're buying right above the bottoming tail bar. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, that's beautiful. And somewhere up here, they're taking profits. That's why he's got the 2 push profit. And he got another push here, 3 push profit. and just riding this back to narrow. Okay, I don't know what the P&L on this is. It's not stated, but I just want you to understand how I explain to you what we teach them the tenets of proper market play, and here you see kids 10 to 15 years old doing it. If I could get you to do it like they do it, you'd be awesome. Look at your narrow state. Here is, I don't know if there's a name. All right, but look, this trader is checklisting his trades. Like, well, all of them are doing that, actually. I want to show you how disciplined they are. They're checklisting their trades out. See those checks? Check, 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 check. We give them a checklist at every moment in the trade, and we want them to check the checklist off. Check, 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 check. All right, beautiful. So this trader is checklisting, is using the checklist, finding the narrow state, boom, buying in the perfect spot, trailing his play, taking profits, one push, two push, three push, out on the break of the moving average. Wow. $584. A kid. Some of you don't make $584 in 40 minutes. This is crazy. You look at these steps and be like, this was a professional trader doing this, right? This wasn't a kid. No, this was a kid. All right? All right, here's $270. Find your narrow state. All right? Now, I know the 200 is here. This is something I don't want to get into teaching you, but when one of the items is far away, you can remove this item out of your analysis and just do your narrow state like this. Boom, right out of the narrow state. He's saying, I got one push here, two push here, three push here, and did he take profits here? It looks like he took profits there. That's that arrow. So this is crazy. This trader gets in here. He adds on the first color change here, takes profits here, and keeps a little bit left and then gets out here on the break of the moving averages. Now, as you can see, what the trader could have done is, because we're now wide, we've gone from narrow to wide. Now look at what's happening. Boom. There's that event in the perfect position. The other way back to narrow. But again, this trader is doing the checklist. Now, the reason why these trades are taking so long is because he is using a 5-minute chart. But he's probably multitasking, doing something in the house, working, playing a video game while the trade is going on. The 5-minute can make you more relaxed in your trading. It takes longer. But this is the same trader doing 5-minute chart, all right? So he likes the 5-minute, which is fine. Here's a 2-minute chart play. This trader made $201, all right? There. These are the buys and sells. And look at that bottoming tail bar play. Do you see the bottoming tail bar play? Right in the narrow state. Look at your moving average, 2,200. And look at the bottoming tail bar. Boom. He's buying right above the bottoming tail bar. Boom. Okay? He's taking some profits here because he's got 2 to 3 push. So he says 2 push. I got 2 push there. So see how that big bar was okay to take 2 pushes. So he takes some profits here. Look at his trail. See how look at the blue line. He's moving his stop under this bar, moving his stop, take some profits, move his stop, move his stop, move his stop. It's getting away, move his stop out right here. That's freaking masterful. That is masterful trade management, people. From a trading kid, doing it better than you, more disciplined than you. Your kids are better than you are at this because of the video game era, guys. This is a video game to them. Here's a trader taking a wide state play, wide state, taking the trade, taking the color change. Do you see the color change? Boom. And guys, the rest is history. He's like, I got 2 push, 3 push, 4 push, all the way back to the narrow state. So we went from narrow, wide, back to narrow. And this is masterful. So he's in for 2 here. Look at the number 2. He's in for 2 here. He's taking partial profits there, 1. And he's taking the last one out there. Come on, guys, this is crazy. That's perfect. 1 along the way, 1 at the end. I don't see his P&L, but that's huge. This is a huge play here. All right? Here's a kid playing the narrow state in Bank of America. Here's your narrow state. Getting in here, look, perfect position. Here's 1 push. Because sometimes, guys, we teach them to count multiple bars as a push. So multiple bar 1 push, multiple bar 2 push, multiple bar 3 push. Reached his target, he said, out. Holy moly. And guys, these markings are theirs. We're not putting this on. This is part of what they're supposed to do with every trade. They mark the trade up for evaluation. So all of these things, stop, entry, these are their markings. Do you understand? All right. Beautiful. Here, I don't know what the P&L is, $368. Here's a $368 play from a kid. Bottoming tail bar, that's one of the events. Is it from a narrow state? I would say your 200 and your 20 are close together here. So, yeah. Bottoming tail bar, boom, starts moving the stop up under each big green bar. Now he's doing, looks like he's doing bar by bar, but he starts taking profits here, there, and he's trailing with this 8-period moving average, 8-period, 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 and then he's out the final one there. So from here to there. $368 in the bag, from narrow to wide, out. It's not rocket science, and they understand this. All right? Here's another narrow state. I don't see the P&L. I see the orders, but not the P&L. But anyway, here's the narrow state. Here's the play. Boom! Out of the narrow state. Here's the stop, protecting himself. Here's the profit take. On some, trailing with the rest, and stop out right there. Boom. So if I look at the prices, I can tell you how much this is. 5 to 7, almost 6 to 7. So we're talking about $1.20. So let's say if they did 200, this is like a $240 play, more or less. Beautiful. These are adult games, guys. All right? playing wide state, bottoming tail bar, stop. Took him a while here. Target out. Okay? This stock is far away. See how he's putting the note? This stock is far away from the moving averages and is making a tail bar. Right? That's their doing. They have to mark up each play to show their moves and their reasoning behind each action. Here's a $108 winning play here. Again, playing wide, back to narrow. See? Okay. And out for $108 there. You get the point here, guys. They're doing what they're taught. All right? Here is wide. And this trader is playing from wide, enter, back to narrow. And here's his first profit take. Now, why was he allowed to take profits on two push? Here's one push, two push, because the two push is rather big. That's fine. Now, this is part of the trade. All right, there should be some left for more here. All right. Very, very powerful, man. I love to see them. You can see the markings from our trading kid playing from narrow state to wide. I don't have to show you a lot of this. Narrow state to wide and out on the color change from a wide state. Beautiful. Taking profits, moving stop along the way. Look at the stop adjustments. Look at the proper trade management. Boom. Out. That's freaking professional. Look at the profit take here. Look. That's crazy. This is a big gain here because he's playing size. He got in on 4 lots. This is aggressive. All right, got out 3 lots here and 1 final lot there. Wow. All right. And of course, this trader made $167 on this play. You can see the narrow state, guys. You should know this by now. This is gap narrow state. This is a specific play. It's a gap narrow state. All right. This gapped out of a narrow state, went wide, but this trader played the wide back to narrow. He didn't grab this one. This is a play too, but he grabbed this one. See the red? That's the sell from the wide. Remember, we can play narrow to wide or wide back to narrow. So he played this back here. This trader, boom, boom. Profit take for 167. So you can see they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Here's Juan 05. Look at what he's asking his teacher. Teacher, this was the trade that I did in the morning. Do you have any suggestions? Meanwhile, it's profitable, more profitable than probably his parents could be. All right? He's shorting a wide state trap zone. I don't want to go into what that is. Some of you might know, but here is a wide state trap zone. He's playing from one end of the trap zone to the next end of the trap zone. Right there. All right? Look at the stop adjustment. Stop adjustment, profit take out from here. Boom. Now, he did take some profits here, he says, but he said that was a hotkey error. Our trading kids use hotkeys. They don't use the mouse. Professionals use hotkeys. Novices use the mouse. We teach kids hotkeys for trading, just like the professionals. So I'm telling you, your kids get this better than you. They don't need as much time to become proficient as you do because they don't have garbage to remove. They haven't been beaten down by life yet. They look at things simply. They don't question as much as you do as an adult. They still have that 11, 12, 13-year-old innocent mind that keeps them pure in their activities. And this is why children who start early get it better and get it really good. And so I feel you should think about giving your kid the gift of this. I got the gift starting at 15 years old. Now, it took me 6 years to really become proficient, but by the time I was 21, guys, 22, I started killing it. Do you understand? Some people, it's like, how does this kid trade like this? I was retired by the age of 26, 27. I mean, I can still continue to work, but I didn't need to. But it's all because I started early. You understand? So I want to introduce you to our summer camp. We do this every summer, guys. Trading Kids Camp. And this camp is also really part of a total 1-year program, guys. 1 full year. Powerful. Between the ages of 10 and 15. Now, so it's a 2-week summer camp, right? So we take your kids for 2 weeks, a couple of hours each day, 2 weeks, okay? There's a 2-week commitment. There are 2 camps. Camp 1 starts July 14th through 18th. Camp 2 starts August 4th through 8th. So it's not both. You choose which camp to enroll your children in, okay? So it's either the July camp or the August camp. 12 months, right? So in this camp, they learn the concepts. They're trading, guys. They're really trading during the camp. It's not just theory. They're trading. You understand? Now, this is a trading camp. It's not a classroom camp. They're trading for 2 weeks. I want you to know this. So in addition to that, there's 12 months of ongoing mentorship throughout the entire year until the next camp. So your kid will have academy access where hundreds and hundreds of videos and educational things built for them to keep their concepts and their strategies sharp, okay? 2 monthly sessions every month with our Trading Kids director, Andres Tolosa, one of my top Latin traders, all right? And ongoing support via Discord. So the trader kids kind of hang out on the Discord channel, get their questions answered, make sure they're doing the right thing, okay? Plus, I'm there. I join the kids for 2 live sessions each semester, check up on them, talk to them, want to see their trades, give them a few tips and things of that nature. And guys, for an entire camp that goes on largely all year with guidance and with me, $1,500, that can potentially set your kids up for life. But check this out. I'm going to give it to you, as you know, I always do. I'm going to give you this for less than $1,000, guys. 1 complete year, 2 weeks camp, academy access, 2 monthly live sessions, ongoing support throughout the year, and pop-in lessons from me, 1 each semester. This activity changed my life starting early at 15. If you have a kid or know of a kid that's 10 to 15 years old, this could potentially change their lives. By the time they're in their 20s, at least they'll be proficient with market play. They'll know the right concepts, have sound strategies, and be eligible for me to fund their trading activity as they become working age and an adult. It's very powerful, guys, very powerful. All right? Now, there's a bonus. All right? I'm going to give you a bonus here. If you sign your child up before June 10th, we're going to add a little buddy system here. So we find that the traders do best when they're paired. The trading kids do best when they're paired with a buddy. There's a little friendly competition that goes on. Also, the buddy system kind of is a check and balance system where one kid says, you're not supposed to be doing that. You say, oh, yeah, I forgot. So that trading buddy system is very powerful. All right? We want your kid to have that trading buddy system. We pair them up with another, and it could be another trader from a different part of the world. I remember I used to have a pen pal from Germany. We used to write letters once a month to each other for years. It was powerful. All right? Trading buddy, part of the bonus, sign up before June 10th. And also, guys, listen, if you know you want this for your child right now, lock it in. Lock it in, same price, $9.97. But we're going to throw in the Money Master Weekend. That weekend is with you and your child. Right? There's a powerful benefit to getting both of you guys together, the mother, the father, the child, together in a session, a money-making session together, a weekend together, actually. Very powerful. Right? We want all of you on the same page. We want you understanding the same thing, and that weekend bringing you together, which is scheduled, right? That weekend bringing you together, right, puts everybody on the same page, and the parent learns some things too. But it's also an opportunity for the parent to see how well their child has progressed in trading. It's very powerful, guys. Start your kids early. No one is going to do this for them. They are not going to get this in school. They're not going to get this in university. They're going to be taught how to be a follower in school. They're going to be taught how to be an employee in school, how to be a good employee. They're not going to be taught entrepreneurialism. They're not going to be taught how to be self-sufficient. They're not going to be taught about financial markets and money, what makes the world go around. Give them this gift and free their future. All right? Andre Tolosa, as I told you, one of our top Latin traders, guys, he's running this program for me. He's done an amazing, amazing job with the kids. All right? And a great trainer. It's one thing to be a good trader, but not all good traders are good trainers. Andre Tolosa is an amazing trainer, an amazing educator. That's why I chose him for this. All right? He's been leading this program since 2018 with huge success. Now, guys, there's a lot of people out there that want to fool you into thinking that they're part of my organization. They want you to send your money if you want to sign up your kid to their accounts. Please, guys, it's got to be somebody here. If it's not this number, if it's not this email address, please be careful. I don't want you getting fooled out there. All right? It's got to be one of these people. It's got to be one of these emails. It's got to be from one of these numbers. You can see all the languages, all right? English, Spanish, and Portuguese. Give your kids the gift that will pay them forever. Give them the gift that no one will ever be able to take away from them. Give them the gift that potentially can give them their financial freedom and independence so they never, your little girl, your little son, never has to work for another man. That's the gift you should give your child. I want to thank you guys for coming. I know there's a lot of things you could be doing on a Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon, whatever time frame you're piping in from. But thank you guys. You're all very special. I never take your presence, your attendance at these things for granted. I want you to know how deeply I appreciate the fact that you show up for these things and just to listen to me talk about trading in the markets. All right, I appreciate it. It's something that I don't take for granted, and it's something that I made a promise a long time ago, that anytime I'm able to do this, I will do my best to give something of value that can potentially last forever. I hope I've done that here today. And I hope to get to know your children. All right, guys, ciao for now. Give your children the gift of trading. All right, guys, see you later. Ciao for now. Boom.